Welcome to the Side Hustle to Small Business podcast powered by Hiscox. I'm your host, Sanjay Parekh. Throughout my career, I've had side hustles, some of which have turned into real businesses. But first and foremost, I'm a serial technology entrepreneur. In the creator space, we hear plenty of advice on how to hustle harder and why you can sleep when you're dead. On this show, we ask new questions in hopes of getting new answers. Questions like, how can small businesses work smarter? How do you achieve balance between work and family? How can we redefine success in our businesses so that we don't burn out after year 3? Every week, I sit down with business founders at various stages of their side hustle to small business journey. These entrepreneurs are pushing the envelope while keeping their values. Keep listening for conversation, context, and camaraderie. Today's guest is Jaya Iyer, the founder of Svaha USA, a STEAM-based fashion brand for both children and adults. Jaya, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So I'm excited to have you on because honestly, I think your background is so unusual for folks that we've had on the show and kind of where this has all led. But before we start diving into that, give us a little bit about your background and what got you to where you are today.
Sure. I was born and raised in India, and did all my schooling and undergrad there, and I had my undergrad in something called textiles and clothing. And I decided I wanted to study further, which got me to the US almost 25 years ago now. I went to UGA, University of Georgia in Athens, for my master's in fashion merchandising. And then I decided to get a PhD from Iowa State University in fashion merchandising. So my background has been in fashion for the longest time. And after teaching for a few years, I was teaching fashion buying, and I worked in the industry as an apparel buyer. And some other things happened that got me to want to start my own business. And that's how I started Svaha USA.
Yeah. Are there any entrepreneurs in the family? Anything entrepreneurial that you did maybe as a kid?
As a kid, I would say yes, but no entrepreneurs in my family, a lot of engineers.
What about something what did you do as a kid that was entrepreneurial?
I always liked to create. So I remember I had I had 6 months break between my undergrad and when I decided to, start applying to colleges. I didn't want to just sit at home. I would buy clothes. I would just sew clothes for my friends. I would just sew clothes and go and ask the local stores if they would sell them for me. And then I would make greeting cards. If my friend said, hey, I want to make a 15th or 16th birthday card, I would just create them for them. And then I would sell them to my friends. So I just always wanted to create things and make them. And those are the things I did. But yeah, no proper business as such.
I mean, I think I'd call those proper businesses. I'd call those hustles. So I think those are kind of how a lot of entrepreneurs start when they're younger, because that's what you have access to. So let's talk about the business then. So how did it start? How did you get this? How did you come up with this idea of wanting to do STEM or STEAM kind of fashioned clothing?
Yeah. So after I worked as an apparel buyer at ThinkGeek, I had taken some time off to spend time with my kids who were very little at that time, 2 and 4. And luckily for us, we had access to the Air and Space Museum, which we live really close to that. So I would take my kids there every weekend. Every Friday was our trip to Air and Space Museum. And my daughter fell in love with the space shuttle that was on display. And she said, oh, I'm going to grow up to be an astronaut. And she said, I have decided I'm only going to wear clothes that have space theme on them. So I said, yeah, that's easy. I was already buying fighter jet clothes for my son who wanted to grow up to be a fighter pilot. So I said, sure, I'll go look for them. And I kept looking. I could not find anything at all.
Wow.
I did end up finding something, but it was in the boys department. And that's what made me realize that what am I trying to tell my daughter? That, hey, you cannot be an astronaut if you're a girl. And that was something that was just not okay with me at all. And then I started researching and I noticed that there were so many things that were not available for girls because they are supposedly male, only for men, the professions only for men, right?
Right.
And so I said, if I don't encourage my daughter to feel that she can grow up to be whatever she wants to, irrespective of her gender, that was just not okay with me. And so I said, I'm going to create a line. And luckily for her and for me, I had a background in fashion. So I decided I'm going to create a line that was going to be completely STEM focused. And then I said, why just STEM? Art is always a part of everything that you do, right? It's a part of science, it's a part of engineering, everything. Even to do math, you need to be able to draw stuff, which is art, right? So,
Right.
so I said, I'm going to make it STEAM, and so that's what made me create this clothing line.
So I got to ask you, how much do you regret committing to going every Friday to the Air and Space Museum? Because I imagine that place doesn't change that much week to week. Like, did you get bored going there every week?
I got bored, but my kids didn't, because they were just so fascinated. Kids love repetition. They love familiarity. So they loved it. They wanted to go without fail. They were excited every Friday to go there. Also, it's such an open space. They loved running around over there. So.
Yeah, it is. I will admit, when I was a kid, I did really like that museum. Unfortunately, I'd never lived that close to it. And so, when I have gone, it is actually a fantastic museum. And I love the fact that you can touch that little lunar rock that they've got there in the display. I hope they still have that there.
They do.
I don't know.
But the museum that I live close to is the Udvar Hazy, the one that's near the international airport.
Oh, that's a different one than the one I'm talking about.
That has the space shuttle. The one that you're talking about is the Smithsonian one. That's the one that's in the mall area.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So I've not been to that one. So maybe I'll have to make a trip there, and maybe I'll change my whole tune about going there every week based on how great that one is. Okay. So let's talk about the business then. First of all, I find this very interesting that you got a PhD in fashion marketing, and really it sounds like you were kind of on that track of being an academic, and then yet got diverged into business. And like, traditionally, what a lot of people think is that people that are academics are not going to be good at business. But I think you proved that wrong. So let's talk about like the challenges of starting this business. Was there anything that really made you nervous about launching this? Like, what was it? How did you overcome that for yourself?
This was not my first business. I had tried a few other things before while I was doing other things, because I always felt that it's so cool to be able to control your own time, and to not be answerable to a boss, which is something because I always felt that I had such a mind of my own that's what I really liked a lot. So I had tried a few businesses and I had not been successful in that. And so I just given up on them. One was another clothing business, and one was I wrote children's books. Because I had published a few books for when I was in a faculty, right? Like it was retailing in emerging markets. It's a book that still is used by undergrad students in a lot of colleges. So I had written those. And so I know all of those things I had tried before. But I was worried that what if this one doesn't do well? That's obviously that's the fear every entrepreneur has, is what if I fail? Right. So this time I took a little bit of a different approach. What I wanted to find out, if I am a mother, if I'm having this kind of issues, I'm sure there are other mothers who are having this same issues. Like when you go shopping in a mall, and if you just are only seeing pink and purple and orange dresses for girls and black and gray and red for boys, it has to be annoying, right? Like even in terms of colors, it's annoying. Forget about designs. That's like the next step. So I said, I need to find out if it's me or if it's many other parents who are having similar issues. And so then luckily, there is something called Kickstarter, which is available. And I launched my company through a Kickstarter campaign. So all I did was I created 5 t-shirts, just 5 t-shirts, which is not too difficult to make. And I launched my Kickstarter campaign with that. And I said,
so let me stop you there. So these 5 designs that you had, did you design them? Did you get a designer to do them? Like, how did you figure out what those designs are going to be, and how did you put them together?
So I basically picked professions that I know that are not typically for girls, right? Like firefighter.
Got it.
Or I made a t-shirt with a pink race car, a pink t-shirt with a race car on it, because,
Right.
if a boy wants to, so I wasn't even just thinking about girls at this point. I was like, if a boy likes pink, but he likes race cars, there's no problem, but you will never find a pink t-shirt for a boy with a race car on it. Right.
Right.
So it was just something like that. So I just made I actually found a designer, because I am good with creative in terms of coming up with the ideas, but I'm not a designer. Like, I cannot draw stuff as beautifully as a designer can. So I hired someone to do that for me. And, funnily, I still work with that person 10 years later.
Wow.
So this designer made the designs for me, and I got them printed at a local printer, like the kind that you can print anybody you can go and print, right, from local printers. So I just did that. So I literally invested $500 and I launched the campaign.
Okay. And tell us what happened with that campaign.
So the first time, the campaign was not successful. I had said I want to raise $25,000, and the campaign was not successful. I think I raised maybe half of the amount. And I said, you know what, maybe that just shows me that nobody wants this.
Right. And so when you only raise half the amount, you don't get any of the money, right?
No, you don't. The people get their money back.
Right. Okay.
But right when my campaign ended, like maybe a couple of hours left for my campaign to end, Huffington Post decided to do a story on the problem in kids' clothing these days and how they are so gender defined. And they decided to include my company in that, my Kickstarter campaign in that. But by then the Kickstarter campaign had already closed. Suddenly I noticed, I had created a social media page, and I suddenly noticed the number of followers like just shot up. And I said, I was like, what happened? Because I wasn't even told that this article was coming or if something was going to get written about me.
Right.
And suddenly I see so many more followers, and everybody's texting me saying, hey, I want to buy this t-shirt. Where can I buy it? And I said, you know what? Just the timing was so off. And I said, I'm going to relaunch this campaign.
Okay.
And this time.
So exact same thing, same t-shirts, everything. Okay.
Yes. I just added a few extra t-shirts this time, but I didn't even like create them. It was just a mock-up of few t-shirts. I said, I'm going to do a few more t-shirts. And I just relaunched it. And this time it was successful. So I got all the funding that I needed to get started.
So the second time around, did you ask for the same amount of money that you did the first time?
No, I actually asked for more because I had more t-shirts. Instead of 5, I had 9 t-shirts this time.
Okay.
So instead of 25, I believe I asked for 35. That's what my memory, if my memory
35,000.
So not that much more.
And you got there, or did you go past it?
Just a little past it.
Okay.
But I did.
Okay.
See, but the thing is, to just make basic t-shirts, you don't need $35,000, right? So what I did with the money and the profits that I got is I made extra t-shirts. And I, in fact, even made some dresses.
Okay.
And then the minute I did that, I was able to fulfill all my orders that I got from Kickstarter campaign. And I was able to make extra that I again sold. And then I was able to reinvest the money from the company back to create. So I just was very, very careful about, how much I'm ordering and all of that. So I was never investing my money. I was able to use the money I earned from the business to invest it back into the business.
Well, let's talk about the actual process of making all of this stuff. Obviously, you've got experience because of the experience with ThinkGeek and all that. But how did you figure that out of like, okay, I need somebody to manufacture, I need somebody to fulfill, or were you packing boxes at home? Like, how did you plan all this? Because $35,000 worth of t-shirts, that's a lot of t-shirts.
Yes. Now I had to find a manufacturer while I could tell that this campaign was going to be successful, right? Because I had not found a manufacturer while I had just launched the campaign, but I had
That's a later problem. That's a later problem.
But the thing is, because of my background, I had the confidence that I will find someone in India. So I went to LinkedIn. In LinkedIn, there is an apparel manufacturers group. I went to that group and I posted saying, listen, I'm just starting out my new business. I'm not going to be able to order 1,000 t-shirts. right? Like everybody usually wants 1,000 in one design. I said,
Oh,
I'm probably going to order 200 in one design, but I want really good quality t-shirts, and I want someone who's willing to take a chance on me if I grow big, and I will continue working with you. And if you're ready to take a chance on me, I will give you an order and we can get started. And very randomly, one factory person responded to me. He said, I'm new too. I'm just starting out. So I'm willing to make small orders if you promise to continue giving me more orders. And I was like, yep, let's do it. So he made samples, sent it to me. 10 years later, I'm still working with him. And now he owns his own huge factory.
wow. Wow. Hopefully he gives you a good break on the cost as well, because you were there for him first, just like he was there for you first.
Yeah, he
So
definitely does that.
yeah, that's great. That's fantastic. So your kind of background, I think, obviously really fits in well with what you're doing here. Did it influence you in any way in terms of how you decided to set this up? Like, did you see things previously at ThinkGeek or other businesses that you're like, okay, I want to do it that way, or I don't want to do it that way?
Definitely. I think that luckily, my entire background, like I was in manufacturing, I worked in exports, I knew what an American consumer is like because of my experience with ThinkGeek. So I think that all of those things put together, they really helped me with my business. And I am a very cautious kind of person. I don't like to take big risks. I mean, of course, starting a business is taking a big risk. I shouldn't say that. But in
Right.
terms of, like, I did not want to immediately get an investor and, invest $1 million into the business. I just said, I'm going to grow slowly. I'm not in a rush to, make this business into like $100 million business right away. I want to go slow. And so I started only with kids clothing first. After 1 year, I just got tired of telling people why I was not selling women's clothing, because women wanted to wear dresses with dinosaurs on them too. And so I said, okay, fine, I'll make it happen now. And so I launched a Kickstarter campaign for women's dresses this time. And they were all STEAM themed dresses. Like, so I actually had a chemistry
Okay.
experiment on one. I had constellations that glow in the dark on the other. And just different things like origami for art, DNA, double helix for science, and things like that. Believe me, I said, okay, I'm going to ask for 35,000 for this one too, because I don't know how many women are going to want it. It got
Right.
funded in 2.5 days. And I ended up
Wow.
raising $65,000.
Holy moly.
Yeah.
That is fantastic. So, a lot more orders. Your partner in India was probably very happy to produce all of that stuff. Were there any, like, given how much of a surprise that is, that's almost double of what you were asking for.
Uh-huh.
What kind of challenges did you face then in terms of manufacturing, fulfillment, anything? Like, was there any hiccups because it was just so much more than you were expecting?
Yes, they were. In fact, the first batch of dresses that we got, we had to reject them because my manufacturer got the sizing all wrong, and they did not fit well. They were not good. So I literally had to get them to be remade, all of it. We have come a long way since then, because my manufacturer had only made kids clothing. He had not made women's clothing. And so when we did send him all the measurements, and we did tell him exactly what we wanted, but it's not the same. For women, it needs to fit well for it to
Right.
be accepted. So it was a bit of a challenge. Also, then kids' clothing occupy much less room than women's clothing, so we were just functioning from the basement of our home. So so it was not. And then the shipments we would only get them by air, so they were coming in the air cargo at the airport. Luckily, we're not that far from an international airport, so I would drive my car, and then I'd go to pick up my boxes, and the guys there would say, "Ma'am, please go pull up your truck." And I'm like, "No, this is my truck," and I would point at my car. I would take the boxes, put them in the car, get a friend to get her car and fill up those boxes in that.
Wow.
So yeah, all of that stuff we did in the beginning. And I think after 2 years of doing that, we literally, because the women's clothing line is what really grew the business. Because I feel like because kids outgrow their clothing so quickly, parents are a little more careful about how much they spend on kids' clothing than, you don't outgrow your clothing as often, so you can spend a little more. But so when we launched women's clothing line is when it really grew the business, and we couldn't keep it in our basement anymore. So,
so you've grown out of the basement and doing fulfillment for yourself. What did you move on to? Do you have like a 3PL that now does it for you, or how do you do it?
So we decided never to use 3PL. We actually rented a space for our warehouse, and that went on for about 6 years. And last year, I actually bought my own warehouse because we outgrew that space too. We had half a size of a warehouse and we doubled it. But the rent was getting too much. So we figured it's easier to just own your own space. And that way we can put the right kind of shelving. We can do a lot more, right? When you have your own space than when you're renting a space.
Right. Okay. So this is interesting to me. Why the intentional decision there to not go with the 3PL?
That's a good question. I think that for clothing, it's a lot more expensive when you use a 3PL because they charge you, first of all, number of SKUs are high. Like for me, for one dress, I have 9 sizes. Right? So imagine if I have 100 dresses on my website right now, that's 900 SKUs just for dresses. And I have jewelry, I have belts, I have bags, I have t-shirts, leggings, shorts, blankets and purses. And I have so many different SKUs. And with clothing, also the return rate is much higher than a regular other product. Right?
I see.
And when you use a 3PL, they charge you for stocking, restocking, for processing returns. So if your margin is, let's say, 30% on a dress, if that dress gets returned, then your margin immediately drops to significantly.
Right.
And those are the reasons I feel like for a clothing business, of course, you have to deal with having to hire more people, having to manage the people and all of that. But I have really invested a lot in automation in terms of systems, right? We use Shopify as our backend system, but within Shopify, we use a lot of apps to automate as many things as we can. So I have just the minimum number of people that are required even with the automated system. But otherwise, I do everything that I can. So I feel like that works out for me much better that way.
Well, I mean, to me, that's pretty much on brand too, right? Like if you were going to tell me like, oh, we don't automate, we don't use technology at all, and you're a steam brand, it'd be like, that doesn't seem like that fits exactly. So I feel like that's probably a pretty good marriage right there. Okay, let's talk about, like a lot of the things, it seems like you've done some things around kind of mission-driven brands. You've been involved in kind of campaigns as well, or you focus on giving money back into the community. Like, where did that develop from, and how has that gone for you in terms of the business?
So I always believe that, if a consumer feels good, if a consumer feels that you are the kind of company that cares, they feel a different kind of connection to you. And that was always something that I was very much into. I always believed that if my customers can connect with our product and they know that we care, it's going to make them feel good about buying from us. And I always feel that if every company could give back, the world would be so much better a place. And so I constantly create designs. And especially when I create designs, I don't want it to ever be like, I don't want to be creating designs to only profit from it. For example, if I've made a Pride collection, I make sure that we pick a charitable cause so we always, every year we make a Pride collection and we give money to the Trevor Foundation. So sometimes, and we also try to, on a regular basis, give money for cancer research, because that's something that's very close to my heart, And so I'm always looking at doing things like that, collaborating with companies, collaborating with people. and trying to bring awareness, because I feel like when a team focused company should be a part of uh, doing something different and doing something special, because our whole concept is something special. um,
Yeah.
and so that's the reason I've always been involved in it, and I think that it gives customers a completely different connection with the company.
Yeah. Okay, let's change gears just a little bit because you said something earlier, and I want to drill into this a little bit. Let's talk about the stress and demands of owning a business like this and family life. Part of the reason why you said you didn't keep working was because you wanted to spend more time with the kids. And now you've got this big giant business with a big giant warehouse, which probably takes quite a bit of time. So how do you balance that for yourself across family, business, personal, friends, whatever it is? How do you balance your time?
That's a great question. I get asked that a lot. Yes, I did quit my job because I wanted to spend more time with my kids. But surprisingly, I have never compromised on that, and it has worked out for me really well. I am, when I know I have a fixed amount of time to do my work in a day, I am extremely efficient. I make my to-do list, I just get down to it, uh, get it all done, and I only work. I still get up in the morning, get my kids' lunch boxes ready, get them, drive them to school. That's one thing I never said I will never compromise on, is like I will be the one driving them to school, because the conversations I have with them in the car are the best conversations ever. So I drive them to school. I come back, get ready for the day, and then I work until it's time for me to go pick them up from school. So I get all my work done in those many hours. It's not always 8 hours, but I get them back home, and then I cook dinner for them. I feed them. And then once they are busy with doing their homework or other activities, I get back to work. And because usually my factory also is based in India, so they start working when it's my time at night. So it works
Right.
out great. So all the follow-ups, all the questions, all the communication that can happen at that time.
Yeah.
And the rest of the time, like if I'm waiting in the line for pickup for my kids, I can always be on the phone responding to emails. So I do that. I mean, I must say that because of that, it probably impacts my social life a little bit, because I don't have time to go for lunches or dinners with my friends. But then you make up for that over weekends. I don't know how many working people actually have time to socialize, if they have kids, have time to socialize anyways during a weekday, right? Unless
Yeah.
you leave your kids with someone else and then go out, which I never
Right.
wanted to do. So I never wanted to have a nanny
Yeah.
ever after I quit my job. So
Yeah.
the whole goal was.
Yeah. Well, what about boundaries? Like you mentioned the weekends. Does work ever bleed into the weekends? How do you keep those things
It
separate?
does. It does sometimes, especially if there is a problem. Like, if there's a problem on the website, I suddenly see, I can't expect my employees to be working on weekends. So I keep an eye on things. But I think in the beginning, it was a lot more, because there were a lot more problems in the beginning. But now it has become like I just check the social media to see if something is amiss, if something is going wrong, if somebody is complaining, hey, you said there was a sale and it's not working, or something like that. Those are the things I keep an eye on. But I feel like because of having my own business, I also have a lot more flexibility in terms of if I want to go away somewhere for 2 weeks, if I'm traveling with my family for 2 weeks, or if I want to even go away for a month, because when I go to India, 2 weeks are not ever enough. I go for a longer time. But I'm able to work from there too, because I have developed, the system is such that I'm able to manage that very well. So I feel like there are all those advantages of running your own business, is the flexibility of your time. So I think it's okay. I'm not going to complain about having to work once or twice on a weekend.
Right. Right. Yeah. And also, I guess the benefit is if when you're, in India, you're close to the manufacturer. So if you need to go check out the factory, that's an easy thing.
Yeah.
And then that trip becomes a business trip.
Yeah. My last India trip, I managed to, I found 2 more new manufacturers who have now started making clothes for me, because I really wanted to branch out a little bit because, you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. So I
Right.
found 2 more new manufacturers and I started working with them. So yeah, it does end up becoming a business trip.
Yeah. Yeah. Fantastic. Okay. Last couple of questions for you here. Thinking back now over this time, and maybe it's not just the time that you've started the business, but even before then, if you could go back in time and do something differently, what is that thing and why?
Ah, I was just talking to somebody today and I said that not one day of my work life feels like work to me because I absolutely love everything I do. So I don't think I would change anything. The pace at which I have grown is perfect for my lifestyle because it has not taken me away from my kids. I feel like I could have grown this company 10 times if I really gave it all my time. But that's
Right.
not what I ever wanted in my life. I wanted
Yeah.
to be there for my kids, that I never wanted my kids to grow up thinking I had a missing mom. And that's always been that's my number one priority in life is spending time with my kids. Number two comes everything else. So I have done everything exactly how I would have done it. So if I was to go back and redo everything, I would probably I would do it the same way.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. Okay. Last question for you. If you were talking to somebody who's thinking about taking that leap like you did and either starting a side hustle or going full time in a business like this, what advice would you give to them?
Well, I think one of the most important things is that if you believe that you have an idea that's unique enough that will have a demand, then I think it's so worth taking a risk. But the most important thing is to believe that whatever your idea is something that people are going to be as excited about as you are. And to be able to portray it that way, right? If you can show your excitement about the product and make other people get excited about it, I think that's like the best thing you can do for your business idea or your project or whatever you want to do. And then, of course, I think there are mediums now which allow you to try out instead of, putting all your money into the business and like Kickstarter, like I did. I think that's a great way to experiment and try and see if it's as exciting to others. And that's the best way to go. And I really feel that being an entrepreneur is the most amazing thing. It is a lot of hard work, a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of tears, a lot of sweat when you have to lift boxes.
When you don't have a truck at the airport for,
Yes.
for those boxes to load, it can be a challenge.
But the
Absolutely.
thing is, it's so fulfilling. It's so totally worth it. Totally
Absolutely.
worth everything.
Well, this has been fantastic. Where can our listeners find and connect with you online?
So my website is svahausa.com. But to connect with me, I'm on LinkedIn. And I'm also, I'm quite on top of all our customer service emails. So if anybody sends a customer service email to us at help@svahausa.com, they get forwarded to me because we are a small team. So we are always on top of everything that's going on. So you could also reach out to me that way.
Awesome. I love it. Thanks so much for being on today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This has been amazing.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the Side Hustle to Small Business podcast powered by Hiscox. To learn more about how Hiscox can help protect your small business through intelligent insurance solutions, visit hiscox.com. That's HISCOX.com. And if you have a story you want to hear on this podcast, please visit hiscox.com/share your story. I'm your host, Sanjay Parikh. You can find out more about me at my website, sanjayparikh.com.